Mama, will the angels make it stop hurting? The small voice broke through the cold December air outside St. Michael's Hospital. 4-year-old Livy sat pressed against her mother's side on the concrete bench, her tiny hand clutching a worn stuffed rabbit. Her cheeks were flushed with fever, her breathing shallow and labored. 27-year-old Grace Bennett pulled her daughter closer, blinking back tears she couldn't afford to shed. "The angels are already watching over you, sweetheart," she whispered, her voice trembling. We just need to wait a little longer." But Grace knew the truth. The emergency room had told her it would be a 6-hour wait. 6 hours her daughter might not have. The pneumonia had worsened overnight, and without insurance, without money, they'd been turned away from 2 clinics already. This was their last hope. 33-year-old Dawson Marshall was leaving the hospital after visiting his company's charitable wing when he noticed them. His Armani suit felt suddenly too warm, too expensive, too much. He'd been CEO of Marshall Medical Technologies for 3 years, inheriting his father's empire. But in that moment, he saw something his boardrooms had never shown him: raw, desperate love. He watched Grace press her lips to Lily's forehead, whispering reassurances she clearly didn't believe. The little girl's breathing was audibly strained. Dawson's feet moved before his mind could overthink it. He sat down on the bench beside them, setting his leather briefcase gently on the ground. Grace stiffened, instinctively pulling Lily closer. "We're not bothering anyone," she said quietly, defensively. "We're just waiting." "I know," Dawson said softly. He didn't look at her directly, giving her space, dignity. "That's a beautiful rabbit." Lily's fever-bright eyes found his. "His name is Mr. Hopsworth," she managed between difficult breaths. "Mama made him, from her old sweater." Dawson's throat tightened. He noticed Grace's thin jacket, the way she shivered despite wrapping herself around her daughter. He noticed the calluses on her hands, the dark circles under her eyes, the fierce protective love that radiated from every fiber of her being. "How long have you been waiting?" he asked gently. 3 hours, Grace admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "They said 3 more to go." She paused, then added with quiet dignity, "We'll manage. We always do." Dawson recognized that tone. It was the same one his mother had used years ago, before his father's success, when they'd struggled, before he'd forgotten what struggling meant. "My name is Dawson, and I think we might be able to help each other." Grace's eyes narrowed slightly, protective. "We don't need charity." "I'm not offering charity," Dawson said carefully. "I'm offering kindness. There's a difference." He pulled out his phone, dialed a number. "Dr. Patricia Reeves, please. Tell her Dawson Marshall is calling about a personal matter." Grace started to protest, but Dawson raised a gentle hand. "My mother," he said quietly, "died waiting in an emergency room when I was 17. The wait was too long. The pneumonia was too fast." He looked at Lily, his voice catching. "I was away at boarding school. I never got to say goodbye." The words hung in the cold air like visible breath. Grace's resistance crumbled, replaced by understanding, by shared grief, by the recognition of someone who knew loss intimately. "Please," Dawson said simply, "let me do what I couldn't do then." Within 15 minutes, Dr. Reeves herself appeared, a warm-faced woman in her 50s who took one look at Lily and immediately called for a wheelchair. "Let's get this little angel somewhere warm," she said, her voice both professional and genuinely caring. As they moved inside, Grace caught Dawson's arm. I can't pay you back, not now, maybe not ever." "You already have," Dawson said softly. "You reminded me why my company exists, why any of this matters." But the story didn't end there. As Lily received treatment, as antibiotics flowed through her small veins and oxygen eased her breathing, Dawson sat in the waiting room with Grace. She told him about working 2 jobs, about losing her husband to a car accident when Lily was 18 months old, about every sacrifice she'd made to keep her daughter fed, clothed, and loved. "I had a good job once," Grace admitted, staring at her hands. "I was a medical illustrator, but when Tom died, I couldn't afford childcare and keep the job, so I chose Lily. I always choose Lily." Dawson listened, really listened, in a way he hadn't listened to anyone in years. His success had insulated him, protected him from reality. This woman, with nothing, had everything he'd lost somewhere along the way. Purpose, love, connection to what truly mattered. "I need a medical illustrator," he suddenly said, "for educational materials. The work can be done remotely, on your own schedule." Grace looked at him sharply. "I meant what I said. I don't want." "It's not charity," Dawson interrupted gently. "I'm offering kindness. There's a difference." He pulled out his phone, dialed a number. "Dr. Patricia Reeves, please. Tell her Dawson Marshall is calling about a personal matter." Later, when Lily woke up in a warm hospital bed, breathing easier, color returning to her cheeks, she smiled at the man sitting beside her mother. "Are you an angel?" she asked groggily. "No, sweetheart, just a person who remembered he was supposed to be." Grace reached across and took his hand, squeezing gently. "Thank you," she whispered, "for seeing us, for stopping, for being kind when you could have just walked away." Dawson squeezed back, feeling something shift in his chest, something that had been frozen for too long. "Thank you," he said, "for reminding me what it means to be human." Weeks later, as Grace worked from home, her illustrations bringing in steady income, as Lily grew stronger and healthier, as friendship blossomed between three unlikely souls, Grace would think back to that cold bench, to the moment a stranger chose to sit down instead of walking away. And Dawson, in his corner office, kept a photo on his desk, a little girl with a rabbit, her mother beside her, and himself smiling genuinely for the first time in years. Beneath it, in Grace's beautiful handwriting, were words that had become his new mission statement. "Kindness isn't what we do when it's convenient, it's who we become when we choose to see each other." On Christmas Eve, they sat together in Grace's small apartment, Lily between them, her breathing clear and strong. "Mama, the angels did make it stop hurting." Grace kissed her daughter's head, looked at Dawson with grateful tears. "Yes, baby, they did." And Dawson, who had learned that angels sometimes wear Armani suits and sometimes wear thin jackets, who had learned that wealth means nothing without humanity, smiled. "No," he said gently, "we all did, together."
Sometimes the greatest gift we can give isn't money or success or power. Sometimes it's simply the choice to sit down, to stay, to see another person struggle and say, "I'm here. You're not alone. Your pain matters. You matter." That's not charity, that's kindness. And kindness, truly given and received, changes everything. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let's spread more stories of kindness and hope together.